Hello, and welcome to the 100 Acre Wool Knitting Podcast, or welcome back if you're a returning viewer. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Bella, and I come to you from Los Angeles, California, and I love to knit and sew and do anything to do with the fiber arts, and this is a podcast where I show you all the things that I've been making recently along those lines. So today I have some knitting to show you, I have a finished object, and I also have some sewing. I haven't done sewing for a minute, but I have some sewing to share with you today and some acquisitions, some new yarn that I've gotten. So let's get started. So first things first, a little reminder, as with all of my videos, links to everything that I discuss will be in the description box below, along with timestamps to everything I'm going to talk about today if you would like to skip to something in particular. And you can also find me elsewhere on the internets at 100 Acre Wool on Instagram and Ravelry. I post more project updates on those places as well as fun other things, so you can follow me there as well. And let's get started on today's episode on the knitting. I guess I will first talk to you about what I'm wearing. This is a new finished object this week. I just cast it off yesterday. I'm so excited to have it done and have it finished, and it's very exciting. So this is a sweater that I actually designed myself. This is my first ever knitting pattern, and it's going to be published very soon, which I'm very, very excited about. So I'll tell you a little bit about this design if you haven't seen my channel before. This is called the Mare Sweater, and that name came about because it was actually designed for my mom. I designed it for my mom originally. She really wanted a sweater like this, so I made one for her. And it also has cables all throughout the design. I will stand up and show you. So obviously there's cables up here on the turtleneck area, and then it's also a raglan sweater, so it works, raglan increases here and there's cables along with that. And then as you work down, the whole thing is also fitted. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the whole sweater is also fitted, so it's tailored to your body and it hugs all the right places. So we come in here for the waist shaping, and then at the bottom here, I'll try to show it in the video. Let's see if I can stand up high enough. There's also some cables at the waist and the hips here. And then there's also cables on the cuffs of the arms that match the bottom there. So yeah, with all of those cables, I was inspired by the ocean and, you know, the waves and the twistiness of all of the water. And that's kind of where the name came from for mare, because mare also means mother in French. I love France and Paris and everything French, so I'm very inspired by French words and things of that nature. So that's where the mare name came from. So yeah, this is my new pattern and I'm so excited about it. We just finished the test knitting phase of it, so almost all of my test knitters have finished knitting their versions, and this pattern is also available in 9 different sizes, so it goes down to extra small all the way up to 5XL, so 9 sizes in there. I am not remembering the exact bust measurements of those. I will put them here, the range of, you know, smallest to largest. So I try to make it the most inclusive pattern design that I could. I really thought it would be a design that would be beautiful on all body types, all body shapes, everybody. So yes, a lot of inclusive sizes there. And if you would like to see actually some of the things that my test knitters have done, their projects, we used the hashtag #MareSweater on Instagram. So there's quite a few photos there if you would like to see their test knits as well. But along with that, once the pattern goes live and is published, a lot of them have posted their images of their projects and their project pages on Ravelry. That will also be linked to the pattern, so you can see, you know, projects that have already been made. So that's also very exciting. I'm so happy to see all of their projects, and they're really, really beautiful. And I've gotten lots of great feedback from them saying they want to knit it again, and it was so much fun they couldn't put it down. So that's always just so lovely to hear. So for the people who aren't aware of this pattern, aren't aware of this sweater, it's going to be going live on June 25th. That's a Friday. live on Ravelry, and I'm probably also going to post it on other publishing sites, on other knitting pattern sites as well. Maybe Love Crafts. I'm not sure what else, but I'm probably going to post it on other places as well because I know Ravelry isn't accessible to everyone, and I definitely want this to be accessible to the most people possible. So I'm going to be posting it other places as well. If there's a particular place that you like to find patterns, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to know other websites that people use to find patterns besides Ravelry. So yeah, let me know if you would like to see this pattern anywhere else besides Ravelry and maybe Love Crafts and some other things. Yeah, so let's see, what else do I have to say about this pattern? I've talked about this sweater so much on this channel because I've been showing you guys the entire design process from start to finish, all the months that have been put into this design. I had originally made one for my mom a couple months ago, and this is my version. So it's been quite a while that I've been working on this project, on this design, and let's see, I think I started this whole process back in January of this year, and now it's June, so it's been a long time coming, but I'm so excited that it's almost ready to go, almost finished, almost published, and it's just going to be so exciting to see your guys' response and all of that. So a little bit of more details before we move on to the next project. So again, there are some cable detailing at the bottom here on the arms, and again the whole thing is fitted. It's quite fitted. I really wanted a tailored look for this pattern. I think it just helps with the cables and helps open the cables, especially here at the bottom. They just came out so beautifully. And the cables are also on the back, and also the raglan is also in the back here. Hopefully you can see that. So this pattern uses 2 yarns held together throughout the entire thing. It's mohair, so it's a mohair silk blend, and also an alpaca fingering weight yarn. So I use those throughout the whole thing, held together. So it's really cozy, and it's got this lovely halo. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see in the video, but definitely in person you can see a real halo, and it's really fun. This is one of my first times working with mohair, and it's just been so fun to work with. It's so pretty and fluffy and cozy. Oh my goodness, it's such a cozy sweater. It's quite warm to be wearing here in June, but we have the AC on, thankfully, and I'm not dying right now. But I definitely think this will be a good knit for the fall and the winter especially. It's going to be very cozy, and I'm going to love wearing it. So I think this will probably be the last time I'm going to talk about this sweater. I will definitely do another announcement next week just to remind you all that it's going live, and also probably have some photos. I haven't done photos yet. This hasn't been blocked yet either, so it's not completely finished because I guess it's, in my eyes, completely finished when I take photos and block it as well. Anyways, yeah, I'm just happy to have it done and ready to wear, and it's just so much fun. So let's get into my next project that I've been working on. The next project is my Anne Boleyn cardigan, and if you are not new to this channel, you probably have seen this project, but if you are new, then I will just update you on how it's going. And a little reminder about the Tudor Roses KAL. So the Tudor Roses KAL is a knit-along that I'm co-hosting with Gabriella of the MerryWeather Knitting Podcast and Zofia of the Berke Creations Podcast. We are endeavoring to knit something from the Alice Starmore Tudor Roses book, which I have the book here to show you. So this is the book that we are knitting from. So this is the Tudor Roses book by Alice Starmore. It is a knitting pattern book, and it has, I think, about 14 different patterns of garments and also some accessories, all inspired by the Tudor era in history. And I will give you a few little peeks at some of the patterns in here. They're just so beautiful and so detailed and just gorgeousness. So here's a few of the patterns here. And every single one of the patterns are also named after a woman in the Tudor era, you know, who was part of the Tudor era. And it also gives some history, and it's just such beautiful patterns. This one right here is Elizabeth I. That's what the pattern is called. And Gabriella is knitting this one right now. and hers is coming out so beautifully, so wonderfully. It's just a gorgeous, simple but really elegant pattern. And let's see what else. Anyways, lots of beautiful patterns in here. We are running this KAL the entire year of 2021. So we're halfway through it now, almost halfway through it now. And oh my goodness, halfway through. I just realized. Anyways, there are quite a few of you who have joined the KAL, and thank you so much for joining. It's so much fun to see your projects and your progress and what you're knitting. And if you would like to join the KAL, you may do so on Instagram or Ravelry, wherever you would like. We are using the hashtag Tudor Roses KAL, so you can use that on Ravelry or Instagram whenever you post anything. Make sure to use that hashtag. And we're hosting giveaways along with the KAL. I haven't done a giveaway yet. I am probably going to do so very soon. So if you would like to join the KAL, please do so. In order to join the KAL, all you need to do is just knit something from this book. So the thing that I'm knitting, the project that I am working on and have been working on for a while now, is the Boleyn cardigan. And this is how it's looking so far as of now. I have gotten a little bit of work done, quite a bit of work done. It doesn't look like a lot every time, but it's definitely a lot of work. A lot of knitting for every single row, and it just takes a long time. But I'm really, really enjoying the process. It's very, very fun to knit. So this is the back piece. It's knit in pieces, so it's going to be, I think, 5 pieces. There's the back piece, there's 2 front pieces since it's a cardigan or a jacket, and then there's each arm, and then you seam everything together at the end. And this is really like, I feel like I'm making couture, like haute couture. I feel like I'm knitting haute couture right now. Like, it's just so much work, and the quality of the yarn. This is Alice Starmore's Tudor Rose, or sorry, this is Alice Starmore's Hebridean 2-ply yarn. I got Tudor Roses on the mind. So it's her lovely yarn base. It's completely wool. It's woolen spun yarn, and it's just beautiful, beautiful wool. And then the pattern is just so detailed and elegant and beautiful, and it's really, really well written. I can't say enough how much I love Alice Starmore patterns and how they're written. I've gone through a bit of the Tudor Roses book and looked at some of the other patterns, and it's really lovely to see when a designer really just lays everything out for you and explains everything really well and walks you through the process of knitting their garments or their patterns, especially in this case, especially with all of the patterns in the book, most of them being very intricate and, you know, detailed. There's a lot of things going on. Alice Starmore definitely makes it approachable and like you're not diving into the deep end and you don't know what to do. I think it's very easy for me to follow. So that makes the process a lot easier and much less stress there. So yeah, I'm just having so much fun with this. And I really do think, like, when I'm finished with it, it's going to feel like I'm wearing haute couture. Like, it's going to be so much fun, just with how much work has gone into this. And it's just so cool. So there's baubles all along. If you haven't seen this pattern from me, if you haven't seen me working on this, there's baubles all along. So every single one of these color ridges are all baubles. And they're worked independently, sort of. They're worked in intarsia, technically. So on the back here, I'll turn this upside down. So on the back here, you just see the lines of color. So what I'm doing there is I'm just twisting the yarns when I'm working a row. I just twist the yarns around each other when I get to a color and I need to make the bauble or whatever the stitch may be. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So it's kind of intarsia there. And I'm working up the back here. So I've gotten past the belt section. There's a little belt section in the back, right where the waist is. It's really, really cute, which I've actually started on the belt as well. So I'll show you that in a minute. But it's really cool how she did this. So you'll see the baubles kind of stop in the middle here. Hopefully I can show you. They kind of stop in this section here. So these 3 rows, there's a little, let's see, maybe 3-inch section here where there's no baubles. And I think that's really ingenious because you're just going to have the belt cover it up. So she basically gets rid of that bulk of the bobbles there so that you can put the belt on top afterwards. So this has just been kind of a little bit mindless knitting since it's the same pattern all the way up. There is some waist shaping and, you know, decreases and increases and such, but it's mostly just the same pattern. So that's pretty easy to do, but it does again take a while to do each row, and it's quite a tight gauge as well, so I have to really keep in mind my gauge and try to keep it consistent throughout the entire thing since it is taking me very long and I am knitting on other things as well. I think keeping the gauge consistent between projects is something I've been trying to work on recently. Or maybe not work on, but I've definitely had to keep it in the forefront of my mind more because when I used to just knit on one thing at a time and I would have a consistent gauge just for the fact that I was only knitting on that, I think now moving between projects I have to kind of remember my gauge of where I was. So yes, that's how the back is coming along for now. And I'm really hoping I need to pick up the pace on this because again, we're halfway through the year already and I need to have this garment finished by the end of the year. So I kind of need to pick up the pace on this. I guess I should work on this project more. Yeah, so let me show you the belt section as well. So again, as I said, there's a belt section in the middle of the back there where the waist is. And this belt is insane. Like, it mixes almost every single technique, I think, of knitting in one little piece of knitting. It's kind of crazy. So I really haven't done much on it yet, but you may be able to see some of the details. Maybe I'll get a photo. But it's basically you're cabling with multiple colors. You're also doing color work because there's multiple colors. And then there's going to be bobbles involved. And so there's intarsia. And then I think you also do some embroidery on top over it at the end. And it's just crazy. There's just so many techniques in this one little piece. So this is how wide it's going to be. This is how wide the belt section is. And then it's going to be maybe this tall or so. So I'm getting started on that. And it's really beautiful. I mean, it's definitely very beautiful, but it's really taking some major brain power to focus on the pattern and making sure I'm doing every stitch correct. And then there's, you know, the right side and the wrong side and keeping those, you know, situated, and it's kind of crazy to work on. So yeah, that's the little belt section there. And I'm sure I will be able to finish this week, and then I'll be able to show it to you on the actual garment. But kind of for visual reference, this is where it's going to be. So hopefully that makes sense. I wish I had more arms, but hopefully you can kind of tell how that's going to work. It kind of goes across the back there. And I'm just having so much fun with these colors too. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. These colors I picked out very different from the original pattern. I wanted a different look. I do think the original design uses beautiful colors, but I wanted to use a different selection. So again, this is still Alice Starmore's Hebridean 2-ply yarn, which is what the pattern calls for, but it's just a few different colors. It's just gonna go so well with my wardrobe. I know I'm gonna be able to wear it with so many things, and I'm just loving the colors. The yarn is seriously gorgeous. If you have not gotten a chance to try Alice Starmore yarn, I highly recommend doing a little purchase and getting some of your own because it's really delectable, especially if you like non-superwash wool yarns that are really rustic. This is a nice in-between that it is rustic, but it doesn't feel super scratchy. So I really love this yarn, and it's really fun to work with. So I guess now we'll get into my sewing for this week. I have quite a few sewing projects in the works already, but I didn't make any progress on those this week. I decided to start something new. So we have a really nice wooden dresser where I live with some houseplants on it, and in order to keep the dresser nice and make sure that nothing gets on it and ruins the wood or sun damage or anything like that, I am making a table topper for it. So doing some quilting this week. Started on a new quilt project. So I'm using this quilting book. I found it, I think, at Joann's maybe a year ago or so. It's called Table Toppers, and it just really called out to me. There are so many cute, beautiful patterns in this book, especially this one on the front. I really like that one. But there was one pattern in particular that really called out to me, and I just had to make it. So this is what it looks like. So it's called the Sunset Strip, and it's a long table topper, which is exactly how our dresser is. I did have to make it a little bit longer for my version, but I'm using generally the same pattern as shown here. So it's all batik fabrics, which I love batiks. Batiks are so beautiful, hand-dyed fabric. And so it's kind of a fade here from dark to light and then dark again. So I had a little charm pack. I don't think it's called a charm pack. It's 10 by 10 inches pack of different fabrics. But I had one of those that was really similar types of colors to this, so I thought it would work perfectly, and that's what I've been working on this week. So I'll show you how mine's coming out. I have basically finished the quilt top here. I'm not sure whether to call it a quilt or not, because it is a table topper, but I am going to be quilting it with, you know, the way that I sew the top. So anyways, I think it's still considered quilting. So here's how it's looking. I'm definitely not going to be able to get the full thing in frame, but hopefully you can see the idea here. It kind of fades from one end to the other there. So it's quite a long dresser here, and this shape is going to fill pretty much the whole dresser top. So it's going to be nicely covered and nicely protected. So this has been a very fun project to work on this week. So I'm using the 10-inch squares. I just cut them into little strips. You were supposed to use a strip pack for the pattern, but you know, use what you have. So I just cut them into little strips here and arranged them in a way that I liked the fade. And I'm just in love with these fabrics. I just think they're so beautiful. They really, really call out to me. And there's some flowers in some of them, some kind of sunflower looking things and leaves, and it's just such beautiful fabrics here. And then the extra batiks on this edges here and also on that side. These were just some yardage that I cut into like 5-inch squares. And then we also have some more interest here on the edges with these little applique leaves, little applique pieces. So this was also just some yardage that I cut and then used some heat and bond to kind of fuse it to the fabric. And then I still need to do the applique top stitching on the edges to make sure that it's sturdy and it will stay there. But yeah, so those are really nice. And there's also one on this edge here. So yeah, those are so pretty, so nice. So this has been so much fun to work on. I will say that knitting will probably be my forever #1 love as far as crafting and making goes, but quilting is definitely also very fun for me. I would say it's very nice and relaxing, especially this project with it being such simple seams. You know, there's just straight seaming, and then it's really just really simple and very mindless and intuitive and relaxing if you want to, you know, get something done, but it's very simple and nice. It's kind of like the equivalent of stockinette. Like stockinette in the round forever. It's kind of like straight seams forever. It's very nice. And then there's also, you know, the ironing involved, which I actually really love ironing. I think it's so calming and like it's just so satisfying when the fabric all lays so nice and flat and it's all even and perfect. And then also the cutting of the different pieces. That's also fun for me with quilting, is cutting the different pieces and them being so perfect and, you know, perfectly measured, and it's just very satisfying with me being a little bit of a perfectionist. Yeah, it's just very nice to have a project that is just, it just feels nice to make. It's just relaxing and a fun time. So that's been this project so far. So all that I have left to do on it, I think I actually got this done in about a day. I think from cutting the pieces to sewing it all together, it was pretty much a day's work. So that's a pretty quick project if you want something quick to work on. But yeah, so next it's quilting, which I haven't actually done free motion quilting before. This pattern calls for a free motion quilting design, which I'm probably going to try to get pretty similar, but I've never done free motion quilting before. I'm definitely more confident with my skills as, you know, a knitter with some knitting needles rather than a sewing machine, but we'll see how it goes. And I will update you guys on how this quilting comes out. But, so yeah, I'll do the quilt top on the batting there, and then I will finish off with the binding. And the binding, I'm using the same fabric that I used for the little leaf motifs there. So the binding will just kind of be this green all the way around there. And I was silly and I didn't purchase enough yardage to make all of the binding, so I'm going to have to go back and get more, but that'll be fine. I'm sure it will work out just fine. So yeah, that's been a really nice project to work on. So I'll probably have this also finished this week, hopefully. Maybe. We'll see with the quilting. I'm not sure how much time quilting will take, but yeah, that's been a fun project to work on. So I think now we'll get into acquisitions. I have not purchased yarn in quite a while and it feels really weird. I really wanted some new yarn, and one of my friends here on YouTube, a fellow podcaster, a fellow knitting podcaster, she came out with some yarn. She started her own business, her own hand-dyed yarn business, which is so exciting. I'm so happy for her. So her name is Alexandra of the November Woods Crafting podcast. So she's November Woods Crafting on YouTube here. I think she's also November Woods Fiber Co. I'm not sure if she's changed her name yet on Instagram, but November Woods Crafting or November Woods Fiber Co. So she's been doing natural dyed yarns for a while now, but she hasn't actually turned it into a business until now. So she now has a official hand-dyed yarn business. She has a website and everything and is selling it, and it's just so exciting. I'm so happy for her. Congratulations, Alexandra. So once I saw her yarns and she had posted that she had, you know, gotten everything live, there was one colorway in particular that really, really stood out to me and spoke to me. I just had to get my hands on it. So that is this yarn here. So pretty. I really, really love it. So this is her Elm base, which is non-superwash, also naturally botanically dyed. All of her yarns are naturally botanically dyed and also non-superwash. She really has a lovely ethos with her business. I really appreciate it and identify with it. She talks about it more on her channel. I'll link her down below, by the way, if you want to check out her podcast. I definitely highly recommend it. She has a lovely backstory with how she made her decisions with her business and all. So this yarn in particular is her Elm base, and this is 246 yards for 100 grams, so it's a DK weight yarn, but it's super lofty. It's like very big. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I feel like there's a lot of air in here, and it's very squidgy and squishy and nice. So yeah, that's DK weight, and then this colorway in particular is called Eucalyptus. I wonder if she actually used eucalyptus to dye this. I'm not sure, but I just think it's such a beautiful colorway. It's kind of an interesting mixture between a cool-toned green and also warm-toned. In some lighting it looks warm-toned, and in some lighting it looks cool-toned. So it's kind of interesting. I really like it. And I actually purchased this with a specific project in mind, which I am also going to be joining her, let's see, Heirloom KAL. I think that's what it's called. So she's hosting a KAL right now called the Heirloom KAL, and it's basically, you can knit anything that is a large project with a lot of cables involved. So whether that is a garment or a shawl or a blanket or anything of that nature. I think she's knitting a Alice Starmore design right now from her Erin knitting book. So that's been really fun to follow and just to see her progress on that. It's so many cables, and it's very small cables too, so it's really, really, you know, fine details. It's just really gorgeous, her pattern, or her project right now. And also, before I forget, she also included this beautiful little stitch marker. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see on the camera. I'll probably get a closer up picture. This is really beautiful. It looks like turquoise stone. stitch marker that she included. So thank you, Alexandra. That was so sweet. So yes, back to my project. I'm going to be knitting the Gita pattern by Linda Marvang, which that's actually a pattern that's on my Make 9 board for this year, which, oh my goodness, I'm probably going to make an update video soon of where I'm at with the whole Make 9 situation. But anyways, that is a cardigan that has a lot of cables. It's basically 2 panels on the front of cables, and then there's also cables on the arms and then cables down the entire back. And I was actually kind of silly at first. I thought I maybe ordered the wrong type of yarn. I had looked at the Gita pattern and I saw somewhere on there, I remember seeing that you could use DK weight yarn, and then I remember going back and wait, no, it was supposed to be sport weight yarn and this is DK. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I ended up just knitting a gauge swatch. So I have another ball back here that I've been knitting from. So I ended up just knitting a gauge swatch per the pattern, and I actually got gauge exactly, like spot on gauge. I did not knit a full 4-inch, but I'm going to call it exact because I knit 2 inches and it was exactly half of what the gauge should be vertically. So I'm just going to say it's good and go with it. It's a really nice fabric that came out of it. It's definitely rustic, but it feels really nice and it's not scratchy, and I'm just really happy with this yarn. I think it's going to be so nice. So yes, this is going to be a cable cardigan. So I'm so excited about that. And I'll probably get started more on it this week. You know, rip out my gauge and get started on the actual pattern. So that's been very fun, and I'm so happy with this purchase. The yarn is so beautiful. Again, congratulations, Alexandra. I'm so happy for you. And that's everything that I have to share with you guys this week. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Leave any comments or questions below, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.